Well, hey everybody, welcome to the program. Tonight I've got another guitar in. I can't really say that without chuckling a little bit anymore because I have finally come to the conclusion that I may need therapy. Is there such a number you can call? Because if there is, don't give it to me. I'm having too much fun. I've got a Silvertone, another Silvertone. This one's a little different though. You see this headstock right here? So you can, there's a few ways to tell and date this guitar, but you can't, it's near impossible to nail it completely down. But somewhere between 1956 and 1959, this guitar was made. Now it was originally made by Harmony in Chicago for Sears, which in their catalogs branded it as a Silvertone. Okay, so there was a gentleman up north that his first name's Chris. Can't remember his last name, but he's the one that actually that I picked this guitar up from. So he did a little work to it. It's no longer original. I mean, all the woods are. Okay, so the woods are at this point. If he said 19, that'd be over 60 years old, right? So the woods are over 60 years old on the guitar, but the tuners have been replaced, okay? You can kind of see that. Kind of a Cluson tuners on here, and it's in fair to middling shape. The body was. There was a crack on this guitar, yeah, right there. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let's see if I got it here. I put my middle finger right there by it so you can kind of see it. Put my other finger up a little bit so it doesn't look too bad. But there was a crack there that he cleated and fixed on the inside. Other than that, it's the only real crack on the body. It's got some dings and it's got some, it had some kind of, somebody had sprayed this thing with something in its life, okay? And so he got most all of that off of the guitar. Somebody in its past had tried to reset the neck and they didn't do it correctly. But the one thing that they did do that was right was they put a reverse belly Gibson bridge on this thing. So this bridge looks to me to be ebony. I guess it could be rosewood, but I don't think so. I think that bridge is actually ebony. And I've got the original pick guard that goes with this, and it was original to the guitar. But I took it off because I'm not a huge pick guard fan. And on these older Silvertones, the pick guard is much like that Excellente that you have seen. It's got a huge pick guard which takes up a lot of room on the wood, and I don't like that. I mean, I like it from an aesthetic standpoint, but I don't like it from a sound restriction standpoint, if that makes sense. This is ebonized maple on this fretboard, which was pretty common back then, I think. So the tuners were replaced in its recent life. This bridge was replaced in its recent life. The bridge pins or replacement pins, I'm pretty positive of that. I don't think they had these pins, and that does not feel like plastic to me. That feels like wood. So I'm thinking these are ebony pins, most likely. And I didn't give a lot of money for this. And the guy, Chris up in wherever he's at up north, Vermont, Connecticut, somewhere like that, he actually did the neck reset correctly. And so he didn't remove the bridge simply because it was done correctly, and the intonation on the guitar was kind of absolutely dead on. So this is a ladder brace guitar. That's another reason I wanted it. I only own one other ladder brace guitar. It's that 1937 Supertone that I've got. And so everything else I've got is some form of X bracing. And while that definitely gives a more rich and vibrant tone to the guitars, there's something about those old kind of turn of the century guitars that I find appealing just to sit around and pick on, you know. But again, this one's 56 to 59, somewhere in that general vicinity. The neck's good and thick. It's got a really fairly healthy V profile to it. I thought I'd show you that. That is a pretty, it's not super thick, but it's got a pretty decent V-shaped neck on it. And it's got some meat on it, you know what I mean? So it's nothing like the 37 that I've got. The 37 I have is a baseball bat with a ridge down it, okay? This one, not so much. Feels a little more comfortable. I think they obviously did these big necks like this because they were using poplar wood on the neck itself. And so being a little bit softer, they wanted, I guess, to have it a little more reinforced. Because I'm pretty sure this one does not have a steel rod in it. Being from the 50s like this, and but it's quite a little guitar. It's got the grain on this spruce is wide enough that it looks Adirondack to me, and it may well have been a piece of Adirondack spruce they put on top of this guitar back in the 50s, because you have to remember back then. It's whatever wood they could get their hands on, and I mean they did want spruce tops on most of these guitars. I hate to confess this to you, but I'm going to. I've got another Baxendale coming in at the end of the week. It's a 60s Stella, and it is all birch. Okay, and but this one's not. This one's got a spruce top on it, and like I said, the grain in that wood, I don't know if you can see how well you can see it. I'll hold it there a second. It's kind of got those bear claw markings on it, and it looks an awful lot like Adirondack. The guy I bought it from thought it was, and I think he's probably right. It's the width of that grain that I look at. Now, I've mentioned this in every single video I did a guitar review on. I'm no wood expert, but I can see the wider grain. So, and I know Adirondack tends to have a wider grain on it. So I think this is. So take an Adirondack spruce top, 60 plus years old. You're going to get a sweet sound out of this. Actually, if you X-brace this guitar, it'd be killer. And someday I may send it to Scott and have him do the X-bracing. Either Scott or Brian, whichever one of them's got the time to do it. You saw the Silvertone versus the Harmony guitar review that I did. I'm growing more fond of Brian's Harmony, by the way. I like that guitar. It does have it's got its own tone to it, and so it's different from Scott's. But Scott Baxendale's very well known in this industry for guitars. The man's done work for Jason Isbell. So, and he's a nice guy. I've met him, spent time with him, been to his shop, looked over his collection upstairs, which was, what a day that was. Matter of fact, I left there. I was sweating a little bit because I couldn't believe I was walking out of there without a guitar, but he didn't have one available. Okay, the only thing he had that was complete and finished was a ES 335 1964 or 5, something like that. I can't remember what the date on it was, but it was flawless when he got it, and he had done no work on it, so it was mint when he got it, and I don't think it was for sale. So I couldn't have bought that anyway, and not only that, but I probably would have had to come up with a cool $10,000 to get it, which I just wasn't willing to part with so I could have it. You know what I mean? But he never made that offer, and I never made an offer. So there you go. But Scott does fantastic work. But I'm growing right fond of Brian as well. Now Chris, the guy that redid this guitar, I'm gonna drop a link to his. He's got a shop up wherever it is up in the Northeast. I think it's called Orphan Instruments. So I'm gonna drop a link to that. And from everything he did to this guitar, I can tell he knows what he's doing. The only thing, if I were him, I might have done different is I might have went ahead and X-braced this guitar while he had I don't think he ever took the back off. He had a couple of loose braces in here, back braces, and he resecured those braces, and all the rest of them were good, tight, and secure, so he left them alone. And there's something to be said for the ladder brace, It's just got a drier, woodier tone to it. And the sustain is not there like it would be if you had a really good X-brace guitar. It's got sustain, but it doesn't have the sustain of Scott's or Brian's that I picked up, that Harmony I picked up from Brian. It's not too shabby. It's got a nice playability to it, and it's kind of nice for just putting music together. You know what I mean? So we'll make it a short video tonight. But birch back inside, solid birch. I'm going to call that Adirondack spruce because I'm convinced it is, just from looking at it. Ugly, yeah, a little ugly. I pulled the pick guard. That didn't help matters any. You can see where the pick guard was on this thing, But the neck is nice and straight, and like I said, a reverse belly Gibson bridge, ebonized maple fretboard. I think he replaced one fret, and then he crowned and polished all these frets, and replaced the tuners, and then it was good to go. It's got a dent or two on it, and it's got age. I mean, there's no telling how many hands this guitar's been in. Quite a few probably over the years, but it is really a nice playing guitar. Not going to spend a lot of time with this one, but It's a nice guitar. It's a nice playing guitar. Feels good. Got a different tone. Gives you a little bit of different inspiration, you know, as you're writing or whatever you may happen to be doing. Nice guitar. I'll drop a link to Orphan Instruments. Give him a bit of a shout out. It's got a, you can tell it's been in a smoking home for a number of years because you can. It's one of those where you can just smell it in the sound hole a little bit. It's not the most pleasant smell you're ever going to smell, but it's almost like a musty kind of smell, you know. But that's just 50 years of sitting in a home where somebody just blew nicotine in it the whole time. Nothing against nicotine. I rather like it, but it's a bad habit, but I still rather like it. It's a nice little guitar for the money, I think. Came with a case from that time period, I think, from the 50s, and it's case is in really good shape. So, but you know, I'm always in the market for guitars I can take outside kind of guitars. You know, this is probably one of them. Not when it's super hot or super cold or super wet. You know, they won't go outside. Then no guitar would. Even if I had a $100 guitar, I wouldn't do that. By the way, I hope you went and visited Brian's channel and Scott's channel. Both of them do just absolutely phenomenal work, and they're good guys. You know, it's the thing about the music world is you're normally going to run into pretty good folks. You know, every now and then you'll hit a musician or something that's pushed in some kind of a crazy agenda. And when I run across that, I tend to leave them where they stand. I'm not interested in those opinions. I'm interested in these things, okay? I'm interested in the kind of music people do. You popping an agenda out there, nah, not for me. I wouldn't have done well in the 60s with music, you know what I mean? Anyway, folks, Silvertone H602 is this model. So it's an H602 built from 1956 to 1959 for Sears by Harmony in Chicago. Very quality woods on this guitar. The top is mind-boggling quality. Yeah, I like this guitar. Like it a lot. So I'll send you a link to Chris's channel. I think he redoes a lot of musical instruments, and might be worth your time just to go check him out. Okay? I didn't get a deal on it because of that. He didn't even know I'm doing this, I don't think. But I am doing it because if there was a problem with it, I would be telling you about that too, and I'd be going, hey, don't go see that guy. But no, nice guitar. Good to see you. Appreciate you coming, joining the channel. Shorter video than most, but just a cool little guitar. American made, quality woods, thrown together in a factory back then in Chicago, but when you get them redone, they can be pretty killer. Okay? Appreciate you joining the channel. God bless. We'll see you next time.